Pitango is the largest VC here in Israel, managing more than $2 billion. We've invested
2 billion?
in 2 billion, yeah, the asset under
Whoa.
management.
Sapir, thank you so much for joining me on 20-Minute Leaders.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you. So you're in the Pitango offices now, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, it's a virtual background,
Yeah,
but it looks like that.
Yeah, it's about 10 p.m. in Israel time right now,
Yeah.
so that makes perfect sense. I've been following Pitango for a long time. I've been following you for a long time. You know, as we were preparing for this conversation, I was actually looking, and I saw that we actually communicated quite a few times over the past few years, mainly when I requested for you to let me come to one of your conferences or one of your events. So I think you led me into some of them, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Sapir, tell me a little bit about who you are, because you have a really interesting background and I'm really excited for this.
Sure. So now I work at Pitango Venture Capital as an associate. A part of the early stage team. I will explain more about the venture after that. I'm also a board member of the 8200 Alumni Association and the managing director of the 8200 Young Forum, which we know each other from there.
Yep. Okay, so tell me, just in a few words, for context, 8200 is one of the IDF's leading technological units. It is probably the equivalent of MIT or Stanford in terms of computer science and tech background in terms of colleges. And you served in that unit, but you also took a very active community role in helping organize those that are released, right? So talk to me a little bit about that.
Sure. So when I came back from the US after 2 years, I was a procurement manager in the Ministry of Defense there. I came back and I had a lot of questions about my future, like where I'm going to study, what exactly I wanted to do in the future. And you know, exactly as MIT, it's a good example for a community. There's a community of the graduates, but in 8200, there was no such a thing like that. We had some events of legacy events about, you know, like very old stuff and not something for the younger generation until then. So I thought that it could be great to have all of those, you know, like young generation of 8200 and gather into one group and to help each other, of course, but also for the whole community. So we started it just, you know, like a crazy idea with some friends from the unit. And we started with a small event. We thought that it will be a small event of, the young, you know, like the new graduates from the unit. And we're trying to answer those questions about like, if you did a specific course, what you're gonna do with that after the army, and some stories of graduates. And we thought that we will have only, you know, like 50 people, but we had full house of 250 graduates. Yeah, it was amazing. And then we understood that there is a need for that community. You know, it's like a product. You have to check before you do something. And that's where we started to do more. So we had like exclusive events with all the keynote speakers here in the ecosystem, from, you know, like CEOs of companies, journalists, a lot of great stories. After that, we added some workshops for the graduates, like LinkedIn workshop, how to, you know, to present myself, other many fields of, you know, like how to promote myself. We had some hackathons. I think you took part
in one of the machine learning hackathons.
Yeah, correct. Yes. So we had some hackathons. We added more courses of like machine learning course to teach the basics of machine learning, like to have.
No, Sapir, I think it's incredible because, you know, having gone through that experience, on one hand, it's almost like a similar bubble to any very strong community that you're part of. And I'm comparing that right now to my experience, let's say at Stanford. You're growing up with this community. Everything is fantastic inside. You get to know the ins and outs of the base and the people and the workforce, and then you finish. and you go out to the world, and while you have very strong background sometimes and have a lot of skill sets, you have no idea how to use them, and you don't know
Wow,
what,
exactly.
like, where do I go from here? What am I worth? How do I present myself? How can I even talk about what I did? And it's so
Yeah,
relevant to what
correct.
you did. So
Yeah,
Sapir,
exactly.
you had such a strong. Do you know how many people went through these events, or what is the community now like?
Yeah, so we have like 3,000 graduates right now in the group, and
Wow,
it keeps growing every time. Yeah, in each event we have like between 100 to 200 people.
amazing,
It's amazing, and we have like 2 events in a month, and a lot of new programs like mentoring and internships. So it's
wonderful.
great. Yeah.
Really wonderful. So, and I think the best thing about it, Sapir, is that now you've moved on to other things, but you're still so connected to this baby of yours that you started, and you get to have that personal satisfaction of seeing it grow and prosper, even as other people are helping lead it. Let's move on to Pitango, because you mentioned that you have a really
Sure.
interesting way of interesting strategy of investment, the 4 T's. What are the 4 T's?
Great. So every company that we see at Pitango, maybe I'll explain a bit about Pitango.
Please.
Pitango is the largest VC here in Israel, managing more than $2 billion. We've
Two
invested in
billion?
2 billion, yeah, the asset under
Whoa.
management, yes.
Okay.
We invested in more than 250 companies. Yeah,
Oh my God.
we exist
Okay.
more than 27 years when Rami
Yeah.
Perez and Rami Kalish founded the company, like the fund. Actually, 3 years ago, we restructured the fund. Instead of one fund that is focused on many fields and many stages, we separated it to 3 funds. So we have the growth fund that is more focused on, companies that reach to the product market fit and have some
Yeah.
significant revenues. The second one is the health tech, investing in companies like digital health and medical devices. And the third one, which I think that is the most exciting because I'm a part of, it's the early stage
Yeah.
fund. We do some really interesting investments like seed investments and A rounds. We help companies to build their own company from the beginning, like from the idea.
Really?
We do the brainstorming. Yes, that's not so unknown. I think that's not so known outside, but we do some really interesting investments from the beginning. And we invest in like deep tech technologies and strong
Yeah.
teams also from our units, but of course outside the 80 to 100 family. So we have the strategy, 4 T's. The credit is not for me, it's for Eyal Niv, is one of our managing partners, but I think that's a very unique method because you can actually learn a lot of that from, an entrepreneur about
Yeah.
what you're going to do in the pitch. So the first one is the team. Of course, we said 4 T's, so the first one is the team. We think it's the most important part of a startup. So we want to know about your background, your experience. How did you meet each other? The synergy between the founders. Seriously, we are like 70% psychologists and 30% financial investors. So
I love it.
be ready for that. Yeah, that's
I
for
love
sure.
it. I was actually talking to Gigi Levy just the other day, and he also, I mean, they pretty much 70% people, 20% field, 10% ideas. Yeah.
That's right. So the second thing is the theme, like the market size. Is it a big opportunity? We want to see there that the startups are very aware to their competitors. Like, show us the whole picture of your competitors. Explain how you differentiate yourself from others.
Right.
Many times we see that startups are afraid from competition because they think
Yeah.
like, oh, when now they see that there is a competition, they might think to not invest there. But it's so different because when we see a competition, we see a need, we see a market, and
Yeah.
we want to know that they are aware for that.
Sapir, I have to stop you there and ask you: have you ever encountered an entrepreneur that you asked them, "What's your competition?" and they said, "I'm competing with them,"
Google,
and
AWS, and Microsoft.
Yeah.
No way.
No. But they said, yeah, we're competing with them, and there's no differentiation. We're just gonna win. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Because it's so rare.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen a lot of very very weird things. Of course, we're better than them. We have like a better skill set than they have, but
I
not enough,
actually
of
value
course.
that sometimes because, sometimes when people don't acknowledge that they have direct competitors who with very little differentiation, that's also a very big red flag because especially in a lot of the congested markets, the saturated segments, it's very hard sometimes to find this really unique differentiation.
That's right. And right now you were talking to a VC, but what will be when you will talk with a customer when he
Yeah,
uses
it's true.
something else? Yeah.
It's
So
true.
that's totally right. And I think that it's also a maturity to understand that there is a competition, but how you differentiate yourself from others, that's fine. The third thing, the third T is the technology, of course. Like I mentioned, we invest in deep technology. So we want to make sure that you have a unique approach that is going to be a barrier for other startups that will be in the same space. So be prepared with the pitch, of course, to be focused on that. I think that, right now, a lot of early stage VCs have some, like ours, like tech guys that can actually evaluate the technology and validate
Or
that.
girls.
Yeah, or girls, of course.
You're a software engineer, of course.
Yeah, I'm saying like guys, but of course, there are some very strong women also.
I mean, you're a perfect example of that. You're coming from
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 software
Rafael and
engineering.
software. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that at that point, I would say that it's very important to do your own DD on us, on the VC, who is going to meet you, because, like if I'm a software engineer, I probably would like to know more about your specific technology. So it's very important to be prepared for that and to bring your CTO. I had a lot of meetings with, like, when I'm going to the technology, they say, maybe you should meet the CTO or the VP R&D or the outsourcing company that no, it's not like that. It's very important for us. And fourth thing, it's the terms of the deal, of course, like how much you're going to raise, but not only, like the number. It's more like where the money will take you, how many customers, how many, like the traction, show us your business model, like your roadmap. It's so important because I think that right now we have so many seed stages deals that are very, very, for $5 or even above $1 million. And just explain us what are you going to do with the money, not just because it's common to take that amount of money. Let us know that exactly what you're going to do with that. Yeah,
No,
so that's
definitely.
the 4
And I
T's.
think that's, I know, and it makes a lot of sense, especially, I think it's also a very big sign of maturity among entrepreneurs. And I hope to be able to exert a similar maturity when one day I do get to found my own startup. And of course, you'll be the first phone call that I make to pitch to you. But yeah, knowing how much you're raising, what are you raising for? Am I raising because I have a big ego and I need to show the world that I'm good? Or am I raising because I actually need to fulfill a burn rate for the next 16 months so that I can raise my next round? I completely agree. And I think, and I personally think it's also a very important role of the investors and the current investors to be there for the founders and say, okay, this is a partnership. We're not going against each other. This is let's work together on a valuation and on a round that would make sense strategically as we're positioned to go for our A, B, and C, because this is a seed stage. We're just starting out. This is a partnership in the long run. We're going to have to go through a lot of hurdles together.
That's right. I think they don't think about the next round. They just think about, like the current situation, and they want to raise, sometimes. And it's about maturity, of course.
Sapir, very, very, you're a software engineer by profession for a lot of time. You transitioned to more of a community role and then an investment role. What was that transition like? What made you do that transition?
Wow. So I think I'm very in love with tech, of course. I love to do the programming work, and I love to work of course, at Rafael, and after that in a few startups. But it's a main part of me. But also, I have the part of working with people, of course,
People
like
person,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a people person, of course. And the other part, which I met recently, I think, in my last position at Cloudshare, was to understand the whole picture, how the sales and marketing works, how who are our customers. I want to know everything, but why should I know that? I'm just a developer. I just need to develop my own features and that's it. So when you see the triangle between like tech, people, and to be impactful and to see the whole picture, you have only two choices for, you know, like for your next job. It's whether to be an entrepreneur or to be a venture capitalist. So I decided to go to the dark side, of course. I thought that it's a bit too early for me to jump into the water of the, you know, like all this journey. And it's amazing, of course. The community was also a part of me to impact others and to do some, you know, like big things together. I think that, of course, in 9200, I had the big opportunity to do on my own great things, and it opened my eyes also, of course. Like, you can do some amazing things only with an idea. I think all of the great programs that I mentioned just became an idea when we meet for coffee with friends, and after a few months, it was a program with sponsorships and everything.
Beautiful.
It was amazing. Yeah, it's like a startup, of course. Yeah. And
Sapir,
when you open
are
your eyes, you
you,
can't close it.
yeah, are you in some way gearing for a startup one day, or is that something that you're thinking about, or are you sort of letting it ride out wherever it goes?
So I had like a good answer for that 1 year ago when I thought that I would join a VC only for 2 years and then I will move on to my entrepreneurship road. And right now it's not so clear for me because, you know, you're not so naive as you've been 1 year before. And I think it's very important to, of course, you start to feel the how bad it is to be an entrepreneur. Seriously, how
Yeah.
bad and how difficult it is. And to be on the other side of the table, it's great, of course, and you can help them to do the hard work. But I think for now, I love to sit on boards and to be a venture capitalist and not an
No, you know,
entrepreneur.
Sapir, and obviously you have the privilege of being in one of the best VCs, not only but in the world, with the incredible Chemi Perez and some other friends that we talked about before we started recording this. So definitely, I mean, it sounds like it's also such a great learning opportunity to being able to see so many different areas, become very quickly an intelligent discussion maker in those areas, and be able to have some personal insights. I think that's just wonderful. What is your, even within Pitango, what are you really excited about? Are there specific industries, or are really agnostic?
So we invest really agnostic, of course, but you know, my own. What I like the most, of course, it's dev tools and everything about developers, because I believe that developers can actually impact others and to bring some value to the whole company. So I totally in love with companies in the space of dev tools and DevOps, and we did some great investments there. Also, I think like you're in love with other fields like sales and marketing. I think that's the bread and butter in a VC, that you have so many different fields that you can just dig into that and to learn a lot of that and to be in love with that. We just did 2 investments in quantum computing. Seriously, I didn't understand a word before that, and now I can talk about quantum. Not enough, yeah, but just talk about quantum. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing experience.
I love it. Sapir, before we end, and again, thank you for spending the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I need 3 words that you would best describe yourself. Who is Sapir?
So I would say passionate about everything I'm doing. Seriously, I'm in love with everything. Persistent, maybe. Yeah. And ambitious.
I love it. All right. Passionate, persistent, and ambitious. I think that's really what it takes. Sapir, Toda rabba. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Best of luck
Thank
with
you for a
everything,
great
and
time.
I'm looking forward to a coffee back in Israel. We're in the same when
Sure.
we're in the same country.
That's for sure. Bye. Thanks.